Hey, how's it going? It's Jessey here from the Wholesaling Secrets podcast. I've got James Michener here. James does everything. You might have heard of him before, but everything from wholesaling, buying holds, fix and flips, and he's also a real estate agent. James, I got him to explain to me what gave him his momentum, his initial momentum to really gain this success and financial freedom that he's gotten to at this point. So, tons of tactics, tons of even life hacks, things that he's doing. Enjoy this episode here with James. All right, we've got a special guest here, James. James, how are you doing?
Good. Good morning, Jesse. How are you?
Good. It's early in the morning here.
Good. Yeah, I can be for sure. So I woke up this morning. I was like, man, I'm tired. But my bed said I slept 87 out of 100. And I'm like, I don't feel like I did. So I was like dreaming all night long. It was just wild. So, but
Do
we
you
had
have
a
one of
good day
those?
yesterday.
You have one of those bed tracker, like the Sleep 8, or what is it called? Is that
Yeah,
what
it's
you
called
have?
I forget what it's called. It's basically a sleep well app, and it has a monitor in
Oh
the
yeah,
bed. So
I've been
yeah,
one.
it's a Tempur-Pedic sleep tracker is what it
Okay.
is. It's pretty cool. Like I snore, so it'll like vibrate when I snore, but my wife took it off because it was waking her up too much. So yeah,
Yeah, that's so funny about sleep. I was just listening the other day. You think you're getting sleep because you're in bed, but actual sleep, it's like you think you're in bed for 9 or 8 hours, but you only got 6 hours sleep. So
dude, for sure. Yep, I agree with that.
here's the thing that I like. I grew up, I'm a mouth breather. And
Yeah,
ever since I started taping my mouth, holy smokes, that's made a big difference for me.
really
Yeah.
nice. I started taping too. I just with facial hair, it's a little bit hard, but yeah,
Yeah, so my wife, she's we're totally going off topic here, but
yeah,
she's a esthetician, but she's got these small tape
yeah.
for doing eyelashes and whatnot. So I've taken them and it just covers and it puts a really nice seal just on the lips. I've got a little bit of facial hair too, and it helps. I'll send that over to you. Let
Dude,
you
I'm
know.
gonna text you right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Say, yeah,
It's made a big difference. Anyways, we're clearly all about life hacking and health hacking here. Tell us about yourself. Real estate agent, investor.
yeah.
That's you straddle both worlds here. Does this give you an edge? And if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. When I first started in real estate, you're going sale after sale after sale, right? What I noticed is like I got really good at cold calling. I got really good at going to listing appointments, and then like I was making my first year, I made 45,000. My second year, 180. Third year, 300. Fourth year, 600. Then 775, 890. Then a million, a million, a million, right? And like I didn't need all that money, but I enjoyed working, right? So I wanted to keep doing it. So I started buying properties because I didn't need all of that. And so I just started investing in real estate. And what was happening is when I would prospect, I was getting these good deals coming through. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I just buy it? Right. And then I learned what wholesaling was. And I wish I would have learned what wholesaling was and like wraps and creative stuff earlier. Cause I mean, dude, I could have had my net worth at $20 million right now easily if I would have done that. So for me, it's like, I just wish I would have known what I didn't know before. And yeah, those prospecting calls opened up so many doors for me and just my business in general. So I'll tell you, like, my first house I bought was actually a duplex, and I had been doing fairly well at work, and so people started knowing me. I reached out to a couple of the other agents. I was like, "Well, I want to buy a duplex, so I want to live in one side, rent out the other, and whatnot." Dude, literally 2 days later, one of my colleagues called me and was like, "Hey, I got this one coming up." I'm like, "What? No way." He's like, "Yeah." So I went and saw it that night. I made an offer. I closed on it. I bought it for 195,000. I got 5,000 in seller concessions. We closed on that. Lived in one side, rent out the other. We lived for $350 a month. Then we ended up renting out both sides, making around $1,000 a month on that cash flow. Now, if I went to go sell that, that's worth 600, 650 or so at this point in time. Then because I was doing so well at real estate, my Facebook was blowing up. People were seeing my signs everywhere. My sphere of influence started calling me. So my second house was that one of my friends called me and said, "Hey, I got this house I want to sell." I said, "Well, I'll go take a look at it." Ran over. It was trashed right from the tenants. And he's like, hey, it's pretty bad, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, you would want to do this, this, this. Like, man, I don't want to do that. How would I get a cash offer? I'm like, dude, I'll buy it from you. How about we do that? He's like, okay. So he gave me a good deal on it. I bought it for 160,000, and I ended up buying that, putting probably 20 or 30,000 into it. So I'm into it about 200,000 right now. It's worth about 425. Moved out of that into another one where I got an online lead that came in. It was Sunday night, and me and my wife and my kid had just gotten done eating dinner. I'm like, babe, I want to go take a look at this. It's a hot lead. She was so cool back then. Like, she still is, but now she's a little bit more of like, do we have to do work stuff, you know? But door knocked him, saw the house, and I'm like, how much do you want for this? Like 217. I'm like, what if I just give you 217? Like, I really like it. I like the location. I'll buy it from you. He's like, sure. So I went outside, told my wife, hey, I'm going to buy this house. She went in there. We ended up buying it. Boom. Then this came from an online lead as well. And I had cold called through this neighborhood for like a year, and I got like 20 or 30 listings out of it, right? Uh, Ended up door knocking the guy. It was a tenant. The house was in disarray. I They gave me a cell phone number. He finally picked up. I met him over here and I said, I want to buy your house. He's like, okay, what do you want to offer? I'm like, 250. He's like, okay, I'll take 250. And then there was a bunch of stuff wrong with it. Like there's some mold and stuff. We got it all renovated, spent about 100 grand. And now it's worth about $800,000 or so. Dude, the amount of deal. So when you start doing business and people start knowing you, they start sending you deals, right? And more people want to be a part of that. So your name just grows. And it all came from prospecting, right? Like sitting down in my office, cold calling from 7:30 to 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and then setting my appointments up 12 to 3, 4, some whatever I could slam into the day, I was slamming into the day. There would be multiple days I would take 2, 3 listings a day, or 4, 5, 6. It was just insane, right? We're just listing, and I had a lot of support through that time, right? Like I'm not doing this by myself. I have an assistant helping me. Eventually, I moved away from working with buyers because there's no way I could do all the listings, all the acquisitions of the real estate, and then uh, and work with buyers at the same time. So then I started having real estate agents refer me stuff. So for instance, I had a good colleague of mine refer me to one of her listings. She's like, hey, it needs a lot of work, but I know you do fix and flips. I see your stuff. I hear you talk about it. So I bought this house. It was sitting on an acre. And I was like, oh, cool. I can split that 3 times and sell off 2 of those lots and sell the house. So I ended up doing that. I made 60 grand on the house, and then I made 60 grand on the land itself. Looking back, dude, I should have kept the land because I could have put mobile homes on it. I did it, and I just wanted the quick, whatever. Um, so yeah, it just that's how it worked out. But it took a lot of hard work in the beginning. It took consistency, and it took being a part of it every single day for years and years and years for it to go to where it's at. And like I was telling you before we jumped on, I woke up this morning being like, dude, I do not want to work. I totally forgot it was Memorial Day. My kids are home. I'm like, man, I kind of got myself a little too busy. Like, geez. So anyways, long story short, I just yeah, it all works out. And when 2020 happened, I made a ton of money. 2021, I made a ton of money. And I could start to see things were just, when Warren Buffett says, when people are greedy, sell, right? When people are scared, buy. And I started noticing that there were all these deals going on. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. This can't be sustainable. And I had a bunch of cash saved up. So I paid off half of my rentals because I was like, I don't want to make a big mistake on some investment that I think is going to do really well, because I had heard so many other people um, make these big mistakes when everything was on fire, and they're like, I lost 1 million, I lost 2 million. I'm like, you know what, I want to pay off my rentals so that I can live off the income if I really have to, if everything goes to crap, and I don't want to make a mistake. So I paid off half the rental properties, and yeah, everything's been good since then. I mean, I continue working though because I'm still enjoying it. Last year I took a little bit more of a break, and I kind of feel like I lost a little bit of an edge. But this year I'm back at it a little bit more, probably 50% of what I did in the years prior. but I'm really liking where I'm at. So
So it sounded like momentum was like a big thing for you. Like you seem to just you figured out how to ride a flow, and it. I mean, obviously, you fast tracked it for me like 30 seconds. And in the span of how many years was that? Would you say as you were sort of riding, you know, all of that? Was that 3, 4, 5 years type of thing?
by the age of 30, I was on paper a millionaire, right? By the age of 32, I was financially free. At this point in time, we make about 25 to 30 grand a month in passive income. So it took me 5 years, really, I would say, to get from 26 to 31 to really, really get to a really comfortable spot. So,
Well, like you talk about how prospecting, cold calling. I mean, for a lot of people, they kind of cringe when they have to think they have to do that. Well,
yeah,
did you have some sort of foundation there that pushed you to allow you to do that, or did you just want it bad enough to get into that zone to build momentum? Because like momentum doesn't come out of nowhere, and it takes a long time to build that momentum. But you know, how did you get yourself into that? I mean, was first of all, was that it sounds like you're pinning a lot of your success, early success, to prospecting and cold calling. And how did you get yourself to do that?
that's such a great question. So, I worked for Grand Canyon University and I sat in a cubicle and I had to recruit students, right? And their students came from their online platform. And I was really good at that, but it was terrible, man. Sitting there, auto dialing, not even an auto dialer, just like using my fingers to call. And I did really well at that. And then I took a break for about a year from work and life, and I taught English in Taiwan and backpacked to Thailand and went up to Montana, worked on a farm, down to Mexico, worked for the Race for Our Wounded for the military group for about a month and a half, came back and then started slowly getting into real estate. And I remember there was a real estate coach there that the brokerage hired, which was awesome. And he was a good guy. And he's like, hey, you're going to have to do cold calling if you're going to make any money in this business. I'm like, dude, there's no way. I already did that. I didn't like it. Sure, I was good at it, but there's no way. 3 months later, he's like, where's your business at? I'm like, I don't have any business right now. He's like, you got to start cold calling. I was like, okay, I'll start doing it. So I started with for sale by owners. I started calling my sphere of influence. And then all of a sudden, everything started picking up. And I'm like, dang, this is cool. A year later, after that, I started doing cancel and expireds. I'm like, dude, this is sweet. A year after that, I started doing circle prospecting. So I'm at 3 hours of prospecting a day, right? But I had grown up so poor that I loved the money I was making. I really liked how many people knew who I was, the impact I could make, helping my family out, not having my wife work, like being able to donate money when I wanted to, and then really set myself up for financial freedom. And it was hard, dude. There were times I had breakdowns and anxiety attacks, and like it was just really, really tough. But I look back on that period of time I'm like, thank God I worked so hard when I did, and thank God for Him allowing me to do that, right? Like it was all Him giving me that. And I was a good steward of the money, and I still feel like I am. But it all started at Grand Canyon University doing that. And I had always been good when I worked in sales and at my jobs, but it was all started at Grand Canyon University working a super terrible job and finding an auto dialer. Actually, I didn't even have an auto dialer. I was just looking stuff up on Zillow and Craigslist and going off of it. And then finally, I'm like, oh, cool. I started going to conventions. I started watching more YouTube videos and stopped paying the stupid tax, right? I started listening to people and got the auto dialer, started getting the right data. And then once I got the right data, that's what made a big difference. And then once I got the double line, triple line dialer, that made a big difference in how to follow up with that, right? Because I'd already been. Everybody wants to know what's the best script, what's the best this. Like I never used a script. I just talked to people naturally, right, and went after it. And yeah, because people don't want to be sold, right? They want to feel a connection, and they're generally going to hire who they like the most, unless they have a really good rapport with another person and they just feel comfortable with working with that person again, even if they don't like them, right? Because they're like, dang, did a good job for me before. So, yeah. that's where I'm at with that.
I would assume when you're at that university, when you're working there, you sort of gained some of that realization where people just want to have a connection, and they sort of end up gravitating towards you
Yep.
if you sort of have that connection. Would you say that's sort of your biggest? I mean, it's great to hear that there is no magic script,
No.
and so it sounded more like you're talking from just a human to human kind of perspective,
Yeah.
and you figured it out from there. Now, you also mentioned having the right data. What does that mean? What does right data mean to you?
Meaning having phone numbers that will actually go through instead of bad phone numbers, right? Having the right mailing addresses and whatnot. That was huge for me. So
You mentioned mailing addresses as well. Or were you doing direct mailing or anything like that?
I did do some direct mailing, but I didn't go heavy into it. So my calls were doing so well and it was free, right? It was all sweat equity. So I was like, cool, I'll do this. But looking back on it, there's definitely some, we've done direct mail before on a high level and it's been decent, but it's expensive. So yeah. But it's like, do you know who Steve Trang is? Have you heard of Steve? I watched his podcast for a little bit and he said, people are wondering, should I do cold calling? Should I do mailing? Should I do PPC? Should I do PPL? Like, what should I do? It's like, it all comes out to be about the same cost. It's whatever you're going to stay consistent at, right? And that's like so true. Like,
I say this on the podcast a lot, just because we facilitate for a lot of marketing. We see a lot of different kind of marketing. It's like
yeah,
I've heard everybody say everything works and everything doesn't work. It's exactly what you said. It's like, what do you resonate with? What do you like to do? And what are you going to stay consistent with?
yeah,
Every one of these channels can work. And it's so easy to get, like, on this podcast, somebody's going to hear you, James, and be like, oh, he does cold calling. And then you're going to get this shiny ball syndrome and,
yep,
stick with, I mean, clearly you resonated. You had a history with cold calling.
yep.
I mean, it resonated with you, and clearly it paid off.
It did. And I'm so glad I put in the work. I'm so glad I didn't live beyond my means or even at my means. I lived well below my means. And I think that's what Dave Ramsey says, live for years. Like, what does he say? Live like others won't for 7 years and you'll live like others can't for the rest of your life. Right. Like, just really know that, like, the sacrifices you're making, I put quotes around that because we all have food on our table. As long as you have food on your table, you have shelter, you have love and whatnot, like, really, what else do you need? Like, sure, it's nice to have a really cool car and stuff like that, but if you have a car that runs, dude, through all of that, I drove a 2007 Toyota Camry and it was so cool and I still miss that car. The only time I upgrade is when I almost got into an accident. I'm like, I need a bigger car. I always upgrade my wife's car because she has the kids, and well, even before she had the kids, I wanted her to be safe, so I put the money into that. And so as long as I have food, shelter, and I'm happy, like, that's great. One of my friends asked me a while ago, he's like, why do you keep working so hard? Like, what would another 100 grand do? I'm like, well, I mean, it would make me feel secure. I could invest more and stuff. It's like, exactly. You can invest more, right? So why keep doing it? But it's funny because he asked me that. He took 2 years off, and now guess what? He's going back to work because he misses it, right? He misses because God doesn't want us to retire, right? Like, there's no word retirement in the Bible. So we need to be servant leaders to people and serve others. Like, that's what our job is. It's not to sit on the couch and eat bonbons and just hang around. It's to help other people do stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, and there's certainly a level of fulfillment there, and who doesn't like a hit of anxiety and pain sometimes? So
yeah. I mean, dude, yeah, you don't know. If it weren't for pain, glory wouldn't feel so good, right? What 50 Cent says, right? Like, that's like the truest statement ever. Like, if you don't know what that pain feels like, you're never going to know how good glory feels. And if you've never been poor, you're never going to, like, you're not going to understand how good you actually have it. So, yep. When I first started in real estate, I was watching my friend's dogs and I was living with my brother part time and switching back and forth. It was a single wide trailer in a really crummy neighborhood, which I was comfortable in. It wasn't terrible. Like, Prescott doesn't really have ghettos, or Prescott Valley. It was the rougher side, but it wasn't that bad. And me and my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, we were totally happy there, right? So it was good. Now where we get to live, it's like, dang, this is so beautiful. It's so amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, let's talk a little bit more about today then. You took some time off, now you're back at it. You probably have a little bit of a fresher view on things. uh let's talk about tactics, or strategy side of things. Let's talk about lead generation. You focused heavily on cold calling.
Yeah.
Is that still something that you are pushing for? I know you work with other people and you coach as well. Is that something that you push to get people get comfortable with when it comes to getting leads, or what other where do you focus on when it comes to lead generation?
Yeah, so I like warm leads now too, right? Where somebody else is doing the cold calling, they'll send it in. And if I have to pay a little extra for those leads, I'm totally good with that. Because for a while there, I was just calling a list and hoping that somebody would pick up. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I just wanted people that had picked up, give me their numbers and I'll talk to them, right? Because although you get really good data, you still have bad data in the good data, right? So I wanted somebody else to filter through that bad data for me. So yeah, it's still cold calling, but it's still like posting on social media once, twice a week and that type of thing. So
Social media, what are you posting out there now? I guess we should get a better understanding. What are you actually doing with real estate right now? Are you wholesaling? Are you flipping? Are you buying holding? And then how does social media come into play? I'm really interested.
I'm wholesaling, I'm flipping, I'm holding,
Okay, you're doing everything.
yeah, putting up whatever comes my way that I want to do, right? And I like it. Like I want to do manufactured mobile homes because it's something new and it's going to be a challenge and there's some money in that. I also lend money, so I've lent money to builders and whatnot. So, like for instance, I got a guy that's building spec homes out in Paulden, and I loaned him 200 grand to be able to put homes on there, right? So, and I get 11% all the way up to 14% or so on those. So, yeah. So I try to do whatever I can. The only thing I've never done is syndications. And it's because I don't want to put my money with somebody else that I don't know them, I don't trust them, and I don't know the exact situation that they're in. Right? I feel like I can be the best steward of the money myself.
For sure. And then, so coming back to lead generation and finding deals, cold calling is your only source, or you're working with somebody to do the cold calling. They're just sending in the leads. How does that all work?
Yep. So what she does is she does calling for me. I've got a couple people, they call and then they send me the leads if they're good. And then I call them on my follow up days and see if they're ready to list or whatnot, try to really fill those out a little bit more.
So
And
you're
then
actually doing the follow up yourself.
I am. Yep. I wish I could get out of that and like really just get somebody that if I could find, so I have the filter, and then if I could find somebody that could like set up an appointment or like really kind of an acquisition manager, that would be awesome for me. I just don't, dude, it's hard to find somebody that's their thing, right? So,
Well, I guess it's really hard for you to also let go because of your wealth of experience there.
oh, I know. Yeah,
And
100%.
it's almost a curse sometimes, where you want somebody to be 100% like you are. And I've always heard the rule: if they're 80% of you, that should be good enough to save back some of your time. So uh,
Yeah.
you know
Oh, dude. Yeah. If they're 80%, I would take that all day long.
so you must have a really high 80%. Well,
Oh, dude, for sure. Even at 70%, or
yeah.
yeah, I would do that because then I get so much more time back, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, for your initial filters that are doing cold calling, what are they filtering out for you? What are you typically getting them to look for, and before they pass it over to you?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? The first thing is motivation, right? Like, are they motivated to sell? And then if they think the property's worth like gold, there's no way I'm calling them. So that's the number one thing. The other thing is I want to see if they're willing to carry, if they have an assumable mortgage, which not everybody knows how that works, right? And then um, the number one thing is motivation, though. Like, are they motivated to sell? That's what all this comes down to. Because I'm a real estate agent, I can list it and sell it for them. And if they want top dollar, that's awesome. Like, I'll list it for you and get you top dollar. If your property is trashed and you just want to sell it and you want a cash offer, cool. We'll try to wholesale it or I'll buy it and try to fix and flip it, right? So, yeah, there's all those aspects of it.
All right, so you heard it from James. Whether it's direct mailing, cold calling, whatever it is, this is really important. In fact, we were behind the show talking about Pebble here as well. Pebble is really a platform that myself and my team focus on to help streamline and actually be a platform you use. There's so many platforms out there that people are readjusting and trying to mold to work for real estate investing, and you end up using nothing on that platform. What really makes Pebble unique is it's property centric. Everything is tracked against the property record. And so when it documents how many times you've sent out a mailing, how many times you cold call that person, and then as soon as that deal comes into you, how are you tracking that property? That is what Pebble is about. We keep things simple inside of Pebble. Not only that, it is property centric CRM. It's really the only property centric CRM out there. So if you're interested to learn more, whether you're wholesaling houses or you're flipping land, head over to pebble.rei.com and book a demo with us today. Anyways, enjoy the rest of this episode here with James. It's nice that you've got so many options here to make a deal work, and I could see where the creativity comes in. And probably by now, though, you're used to all the different. You can sense which where the deal is going to go.
Yeah.
Um, Shoot, I had a question I wanted to ask you now that just jumped out of my head. Um, oh, right, motivation.
Yeah.
So you must have a preference for the kind of motivation. Like, what are the common themes that you hear that typically work out to being a deal with you? What are those? Give us some concrete examples.
Yeah. So if I have somebody that is like, I have to move to Texas to be with my mother because she's sick, right? I don't want to waste time on the real estate market. I want to make X amount of dollars and I'm happy with that. If I can help with, so for instance, right? I have a lady that contacted us and her brother passed away. The house is totally trashed. She was willing to carry. So I went and met with her and I said, I'll give you 130. She said, how about 140? I said, cool, at 140, how about uh, you carry because you said you would, and I'll give you 70,000 and you carry 70, the other 70,000 at 5% interest. Give me a year to pay it off. She said, yeah, that's great. Like, that's perfect. She wins because I'm taking on the project, right? And it's all good. I have another gal that um, I was going to buy her property to fix and flip it. And, anyways, the well wasn't working. I don't know if the septic's working. It needs to be trashed out and whatnot. So I said, "What's your bottom line? Like, how much do you want to make?" And she said, "I want to make 250 grand." I said, "Well, how about 230, and then I'll give you 15% of the profit because I don't know that I like want to commit to that." She said, "Okay." And I said, "I'm not going to buy your property. I'll just put the money into it, and then we'll list it. We'll sell it. You'll get your 230 plus 15% of the profit. I get my money back that I put in plus the profit, but there's no money out on my end towards you to be able to buy the project. We're basically a joint venture, right? It's a joint venture type of thing." Another person that I talked to last year, they were going to jail and they wanted to sell their house. And I said, "Will you let me wrap your mortgage?" He said, "Okay." It was 140 grand. We wrapped the mortgage. I had to come in with 100 grand to close. So I did. And then I came in with like $5,000 to fix the house up. I ended up selling it and making like 10, 15,000. Well, I think honestly, I think at the end of it, I made like 25,000 bucks on that. So after paying the acquisition guy and whatnot. So my,
Right.
you
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a lot of creative spirit in you, deal hunting spirit in yourself. Were you always like this even before working at the university?
oh yeah, dude. I made a living just flipping cars for a while, and I always saved a lot of money and I always liked stocks and I always bought silver and gold and now I like buying guns and stuff like that and ammunition because COVID taught me a lot of lessons with that. So whatever I could put money into that would return me something or be some sort of a resource if the apocalypse hit. I love zombie movies, so it's like, yeah, dude, 28 years later is coming out, June 20th. I'm stoked. So, yeah. So, whatever I can prepare for with that. But COVID taught me that it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. matters what resources do you have, right? And that could be your resources with your hands, your mind. It could be your resources with the food that you have, the guns, the protection that you have, type thing. It could be the resources that you have with people that you know, like, trust, and that type of thing. So COVID taught me a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
James, a lot of people I think listening will be like, "Well, James, you're lucky. You're on the top of the food chain right now." I mean, help connect, help those that are listening that are still figuring out how to climb this ladder. If you were to start again, if you were to do, yeah, let's just say if you were to start again in today's market, and how everything is today, because you're still active in it, what would you do? You don't have that momentum yet. How do you build your momentum?
Yeah. The number one thing I would do is I would set my schedule up for money making activities, right? And I would start working at 7:30 every morning at least with outbound calls, and then I would do some sort of strategic mailing, and then I would take the afternoon to drive around to properties and do like driving for dollars. And Mojo has their own app, and I would find distressed properties that maybe not everybody else is getting, and really plug those in. That way, it's more sniper approach than a shotgun approach. And then I'd pick two neighborhoods that are close to me if I was a real estate agent that I would prospect, and I would just add that in, right? I would, once I started getting busy enough, I would hire a virtual assistant and have them work for me for a really long time, train them up. You know what? If you, it depends on how much money you have, right? Going into it, but a virtual assistant can be $5 an hour, and if you can hire them for 4 hours a day, and you can help get them trained after 6 months of being in the business, you're going to need that virtual assistant. So hiring that virtual assistant to help you and go hand in hand. Once you start getting busy enough, start hiring another assistant. Maybe that's here in the US or whatnot, that's working with you, and treat them really well. If you have a really good assistant, pay them well. Don't be cheap with them. So it makes a world of difference. I couldn't have done everything I did without my without Chung Lee, Leanne, all these people, Tammany, like, I've done really well. My team members, they've been great. So all in all, I would time block my day for money making activities in the beginning. I would limit every distraction I could from there. I would work out, keep a healthy mind, and make sure that my spouse was happy as well, and that she knew what the goal was at the end of the day. Yep,
Yeah, getting them on the same page is so important.
it is.
Um,
Yeah.
James, you've got a lot of advice here. I know you also work with people. If people want to engage with you, if they want to work with you, how do you work with people? What do you do? I mean, other
Yeah.
than probably
So reach
deals,
out.
coaching, like give us an understanding of how people can sort of come across you and engage with you.
Yeah. So reach out to me on Instagram or send me a text message. Like my phone number 928-308-4700. I do one-on-one coaching, but honestly, like, I try to weed people out and keep that. I do coaching for fun. So like I did a coaching call at 8 o'clock this morning with a guy who's doing really well. I like him a lot. I think he's going to do awesome. But I had a larger coaching platform where I had like 23 students, and it just wasn't as much fun. I want the people that are actually going to go after it, and I don't want them to spend money on something that they're not going to utilize. So, yeah. So reach out to me on Instagram, set up a call, do one-on-one. Um, and yeah, I love to share the knowledge. James R. Michener. So James, James R, and then Michener, Michener.
Awesome.
Yep.
James, one more question here for you. I feel like I need to bring you back on to talk about something really specific. I feel like you're just doing a lot, which is so cool to hear. And I'm going to be in connect with you moving forward here. But if you could recommend somebody else to come on this podcast where we talk about real estate investing, whether it's wholesaling, fix and flips, buy and hold, land, whatever, that our audience could connect well with, who should we have on the show here?
Oh man, my guardian father is the one that got me into real estate. Steve Collins, he's 74 now. He's awesome. Sean Miller, Wade Crandall, Isabel Stonebreaker, um, Alex Salenka. Oh gosh, I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to follow up with you on an email and say, hey, James, do
Yeah,
you mind putting me in contact with these people?
do it through Facebook Messenger because my
Done.
email gets so blown up.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Now
that'd
you
be
guys
better.
all know if you want to reach James, you get him on his face. That's how I got you on the show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. So that way it's not, there's so many messages coming in. A lot of times I miss stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I got tons out of this episode. Sticking with the marketing that you resonate with. Everything works, and clearly cold calling worked really well with you. Being really creative with the different things you do, and clearly you have a regiment that you follow as well. There's tons that we sort of covered on this episode here. James, thanks so much for
Jesse,
coming on the
I'll
show.
leave it at this, right? So cold calling worked for me, but if you do mailers, you're going to have people calling you and you're going to have to put them into a CRM to call them back. So no matter what, you have to do your calls and your text messages. No matter what lead source you're doing, PPC, PPL, you still got to pick up the phone and talk to people or meet with them. So yeah, either way, we do PPEL and the leads come in. I still have to call them. It's not like they're just signing a contract for me right away. So yeah, but yeah, reach out to me. That'd be great.
Awesome. All right, James, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, man. Have a good day.
All right, cheers.
Okay, bye.